So it's time for another winter project, and this time it's re-varnishing a table from the pilot house. Definitely ready for it. We had to take it out the pilot house because it's mounted on a stainless steel pole, which makes it quite tricky otherwise to sand and varnish. So we brought it back, nice warm room, and stripped it back first of all with nitromors and a scraper very carefully. It's only a veneered plywood table. And so far we've done 3 coats of high gloss Epifanes varnish to really get a bit of a good seal. Now I don't like the shiny look, so the plan is to give it one more coat of varnish to get a really good seal, and then we're going to use something called Rubbed Effect Epifanes, which gives a sort of matte surface which hopefully will be hard wearing, won't show the scratches so much as a high gloss finish, and won't be quite as reflective as this is. So that's the 4th coat done, super shiny surface, which I don't like. So next we're going to apply the Epifanes Rubbed Effect Varnish, which will give a sort of matte finish, so we'll see how that looks. So before that, a final wet and dry just to take off any surface imperfections, and then a couple of coats of that, and we're done. So I've sanded down the table very carefully, got a super smooth finish, and I've just put on a thin coat of the varnish. This is the Epifanes Rubbed Effect with about 5% thinner in it. And I'm just getting this horrible, horrible finish. Look at this, it's just so rough. And it almost as though kind of it rises up after it's been put on. So I'm getting, you can see little bubbles almost. Something's really wrong, this can't be right. So this is the 2nd attempt at the 1st coat of the Epifanes Rubbed Effect. So this time it was with a 5% inclusion of brush thinners. I'm not sure how well this shows up, but it's better, but we've still got a pretty rocky old surface. And you know, I just found it so difficult to get it to lay at all neatly. So I've got patches where I've overbrushed it clearly, but it just doesn't really kind of sit well at all. So I'm just not happy with that. So I'm going to now give this a proper sand down again, take it pretty much flat it back with 180 and then down to 300 to get a good keyed surface, and then we'll have another go. Okay, so the table's been sanded back, finally using 300 grit wet and dry, so you can see a little bit of grain there, but it's a smooth finish overall. I can't feel really any ridges. So I'm just giving the varnish a really good stir, make sure all the flatting agents are not at the bottom. So we have 100 ml of varnish, and as you can see in the pot, hopefully it's nice and clean, and 5 millilitres of the thinner, brush thinner. Trying not to overbrush it. Here's my take this time. Let's see if that's better. So overall, that's gone much better. I think I put too much on, that's the trouble. So, and I'm really tempted to try and wet edge that, which I'm probably going to regret. And I'm just going to tip that off. So I've got a sort of heavier coat, and we'll just see how that looks. Yeah, that's what I did wrong. So that's overbrushing it. So you can see a bit, you see the bit in the middle there that I've just where the brush is here, I could see it was drying and I went back to it and I shouldn't have done. So I think maybe the technique is just leave it, see how that dries, and repair it with sandpaper and do it. Certainly it's not bubbling up the way it did. A few bubbles in there. Don't know whether that's visible or not, but so I'm going to leave that to dry and see if that's going to do the trick. But God, it's hard stuff to work with. So this third attempt has dried and overall a lot better. Still got a few patches where I've just not got a clean kind of edge, so I've got some areas which haven't really covered smoothly. It's just, I find this product just difficult to work with, but I think I'm going to wet and dry this down, give it another coat, and hopefully I'll be there. But yeah, not sure I'd want to use this varnish again. So I've put on what I thought would be my final coat, and it's alright, but I think I veer between underbrushing and overbrushing, so I don't know whether this will be visible on the video, but I've got sort of lines here where I can see the kind of meet points between where I've brushed, so I haven't brushed that out enough, and yet then there's places like this where it's underbrushed. And similarly here I've got sort of underbrushing here. So it just sort of the most frustrating varnishing job I've ever done. Well, after about 5 attempts I've finally got a finish that I'm happy with. It's been a bit of a learning curve, and the feedback from the suppliers was that maybe that initial horrible rough coat was because I hadn't mixed the varnish properly. It has what they call flatting agents in it, which are the ones which rise to the surface to give it a matte finish, and perhaps they weren't fully mixed through. I don't know. Maybe it's just a case of just not really knowing how to use this properly, and I sort of veer between putting it on too thick or trying to brush it too thin and leaving horrible marks. But we are where we are, so it's taken a long time, but I've now got a really nice sort of kind of semi-matte finish. Feels nice and good. Leave that to harden off, and on to the next project.